Okay. Fine. So in our last class, we have started with Employee Central Core, right? Introduction. What exactly we have in Employee Central? What are the things which are in scope? Basically, you can see here. So now anybody has doubt regarding what the difference between foundation and MDF object? Clear how MDF object has been migrated from foundation objects only. Correct?
Yes, no doubt, sir.
Okay. So going to start with, we'll be starting first with MDF object, then coming on the foundation objects. So MDF objects are generally also called as generic objects. So whenever any terminology you'll be seeing like generic objects or MDF objects, so one and the same. MDF is metadata framework, which can be configured in instance only, which can also be called as generic object. Okay. So this also have org, pay and job structure as we have seen over here. But the difference is in job structure, complete job function and job classification has been moved to MDF object. As you can see, foundation object doesn't have anything in job structure. Even though you'll be having to, even though the tool name is manage org, pay and job structure, where you'll be maintaining the values in the instance, but the job structure is completely moved in the MDF object, which is comprises of job function and job classification. So foundation objects have some objects which are there in organization, org structure and pay structure. And there are miscellaneous objects which will be using later on. There is nothing to touch in the configuration. These are the standard thing. What we'll be doing is creating this like dynamic role workflow event reason. We have to create those reasons workflows in the instance itself, but already pre-configured some objects are there already here. It doesn't comes in org pay and job structure. These are already pre-configured, which comes in the XML. If you download the XML file, you can able to see this configuration. Any field if you want to hide or something like that, you can look into it, but you can't add any extra field and all because it is all pre-configured. What you can do, the main thing as a consultant, you can do create values in instance only for this, like workflow. Workflows are created in instance. It is pre-configured. Event reasons are created in instance and map to the respective events that will be covering in our later sessions when we'll be covering those sessions. So first, let us start with MDF objects. Now, MDF objects, the tool where you can able to configure the, what you have to configure? Field, not values. For example, suppose I want to create values like ITC group, ITC, under ITC group, there are two branches, ITC electronics and ITC textiles. Under that, there are again divisions, which is the subdivision of a business unit, maybe subdivided into division, SAP, Oracle, PeopleSoft. These right side, what you can create the structure based on the configuration under configure object definition, because in configure object definition, we whatever fields we have to keep, whatever we have to hide, don't delete any standard field, you can hide it. Whatever for the just for the easy use for the end user to create these structures, whatever the configure you have to do, you have to field wise configuration, or this you can name this legal entity as root org unit and all these labels. Text wise, if you want to change any text of any field which is visible to the user at the time of updation, all those field related configuration you can able to do in configure object definition for any object under org, job and pay structure. It is the same field wise configuration, adding of fields, all the other same configuration. So let us first do the standard. These are the standard layers of the success factors, which is by default, it will be provided under MDF object. But if as per the requirement, if you want, you can change the name of these layers. But until and unless client required, let it be the same. You can use the same 4 layers. If the client wants to change the name, then you can change. If the client wants fifth layer, then this is the custom MDF object. For example, sub department or subdivision. If there are 6 layers, suppose under division there are subdivision, and under subdivision you are having certain 4-5 departments which are nothing but functions. Under those departments you are having sub departments. So here 2 layers are subdivision, sub-department are custom layers. So custom MDF objects you have to configure. But if the requirement is suitable in this 4 layers only, there is no need to configure any custom objects. So this is our requirement. Let us take ITC groups or any other as per your wish. Let us take any structure to configure in our to hire. Our purpose is to hire the employee in a position, and that position will be from these structures, ITC groups or whatever you can say, HTC groups, anything you can name it. Under that, our purpose is to make the user convenient to hire that respective employee under this structure. So to hire any employee, you have to first build the org structure. And for the users to build the org structure, your configuration should be the same. And later on, we will be also working on associations, which is nothing but related relationships. If suppose you are creating independent objects, how you are relating each object to another? Like for example, I have shown you in org chart, right? One Yash groups is there. Under this, 2 subdivision like business unit will be there, and business unit is again divided into division, SAP Oracle. So that line, whatever is related from one object to another, is all called as associations. In org chart also I have explained about associations. Now here we'll be doing practically when we'll be covering associations. So before we start associations, let us first see the basic parameters of configure object definition. So let us first go to legal entity. Okay, till here clear? Any doubts or any confusion?
Hello.
Hello? Yeah,
Yes, sir. So this means that there is a steps at the time of hiring the employee. First we
mhm.
have to create the organization structure,
Yeah, first you have
right?
to create org pay and job structures, and before entering the values, there is a backend configuration which you have to do under. For foundation objects also, if it is required, you have to go and do the field-wise configuration in XML. Now we are looking into MDF object, which covers these
Okay.
many things what I have mentioned here. Under pay structure is also covers the same thing. Pay group, you know what is pay group. Frequency, pay scale group is nothing but it is based on union. If any union or any employees, for example, you can say there is a range pay scale which is set up, like for example 1000 1000 to 10,000, or let us say if you are giving manager pay scale group is pay scale group is, for example, you can say manager. uh, there may be manager, senior director, etc. Okay, for manager, what is the level? Level is level 1, and for manager
Okay.
level 1. And then what is the area? Pay scale area means where exactly the employees. So we are categorizing it based on pay scale group. Area you can just mention as Hyderabad or anything city wise. Where exactly this is related to pay scale, it is not related to location. So location is different. And here this manager with the pay scale level is L1, L2, L3. What Hyderabad pay scale type is manufacturing admin. What is the type of industry? For that particular pay scale structure, you may have a separate CTC components like basic salary for managers and pay scale level 1. It should be 20,000. And if it is pay scale group is senior manager and level 2, it should be for 30,000. Level 1, it should be 20,000. Like that, if you want to set up a salary range for base salary, you'll be using this pay scale group level. These all called as pay scale structures, which will be configuring in MDF. These are our MDF. A
MDF.
part of that pay component group, that configuration of basic pay, HRA, all those pay components will be configuring it in XML foundation objects. Okay, understood?
Okay, sir.
So now, the just remember key field wise configuration or label wise label is nothing but a text if what you want to visible to the user. For example, legal, they told that legal entities to be renamed as root org unit. Then you have to change the label, not the code, that I will show you. So in order to do the field level configuration, you have to go to configure object definition. This is the tool name. Just type here configure, but you have to have this permission object definition. If you doesn't have permission, it will show no data. Whatever you are having permission, it will show the pop-ups. If there is no permission, you have to give it in RBPs. You know how you have to give it in RBPs, right? Role-based permissions. I have showed you configure object definition, consultant, admin permissions are different, user permissions are different. So you have to give the main permissions under configure object definition. If at all you are having any doubts from where these permissions are we are getting, you can even there is a standard role of super admins as which will be activating from provisioning. You can go into that super admin. There are various ways to know how from where these permissions are getting. So view, what is the action name? View user permission. No, view user permission. Yeah. Here I'm writing my SF admin, my username, view permission. If you are having any doubts from where that configure object definition tool is being taken, which permissions we have to give under which section we will be finding those permissions. So anyways, while you are surfing permission roles, you know what are the employee central related specific tools. You can just browse it under the admin. Else, if you are having any confusion, you have to go and type configure object definition. It is coming from metadata framework, which is allotted to system admin. So this is the section. So under permission rules, you have to go directly into the section metadata framework and give this permission. Then you will be, then this permission is being activated. Else, if you proxy other users, like for example, referred or any other thing, any other user, which I have already shown, if you doesn't have permissions, then it will not show in the suggestions as well. That's the important thing in success factors. Now, if I just type configure object definition, see, it will show like this. There were no results. Okay. Understood now how to check from where the permissions are coming to the users or any doubts.
Hello.
Okay. Hello.
Yeah, sir. We can give that permissions through RBP in to admin through
Yeah.
RBP in manage system properties, right?
In metadata framework, it is showing sessions. In that section, you have to give it metadata, METADA, metadata, whatever you are seeing that section, right? Metadata
Uh-huh.
framework. Under that, you are finding configure object definition. Now, so there is something, some
Yes.
section called metadata framework in permission role, definitely, else it will not show. If you go to permission role, if I want to give anybody permission, suppose if I open any role, this is ESS, don't give any permissions here, else all the employees will be getting that permission. But you can
Yes.
just click on that respective role and just type what you have seen metadata
Metadata framework.
framework, metadata framework. Okay. Configure object. This is not available for
Definition.
ESS. If I give it for
Yes.
ESS, all employees now for
All
after
employees will get that
person will
permission.
also
Yes.
have that access referred what I have proxied. Okay. So
Yes. Yes.
under view user permissions, if you are having any doubts, just main permission is super admin, system admin. Go to that view user permissions, your username also you can mention, and search with that action from where it is taking. You'll get to know from where, under which section you are getting that permissions. Same, you have to come and give it over to other employees if required. Okay, got it?
Yes, sir. Yes.
So here already predefined object is there with legal entity. Let us take an example of legal entity. Don't go this entities somebody have created or it is other thing. You have to go this legal entity. Okay, simple legal entity. So this is the object and this is the field. So wherever you are seeing the MDF, starting the fields with MDF, those are required field but not visible to the user. Those are required for the functioning of this particular object. If you create any MDF object, certain fields with the name MDF automatically get created, like this MDF, which is necessary for working of the system properties. Okay. So these fields are automatically created. Don't give focus on these fields. These are the fields which are there in the, which the user will be updating. Anyways, this is the code. Don't go with this code. User will be getting those with the label, whatever mentioned in here in the label status. For example, here effective end date is there. If I go to details, label will be ended. So whatever is mentioned in the label, that is visible to the user. Let me show you. I will just duplicate it. So this is how the configuration screen look like, legal entity object. And if I want to configure this, I will be take action, make correction. Let me go take you through each and everything, like what are the attributes. These are the attributes of this object, which is also very important. These are the fields under that object. Now, how the user can able to see those fields are, if I go to manage data, if I go to manage data, here I'll be typing legal entity. Here left side, whatever you can see already established, already configured legal entity. I think here Yash group is also configured. Let us check ITC group is configured or not. ITC group is not configured. So we can create a group with ITC structure for our own reference. So for example, if I take Yash group only, here these are like this. Employee can able to see these things like this. Now here one thing is called country. Country is India, because India doesn't have any country specific fields. In this later on, I will explain you, but just for now, if I am selecting it to USA, certain fields which are already, you may have heard country specific MDF object or country specific corporate data model, country specific, whatever it is, country specific MDF object, you can call it. If I mention United States, you'll be finding certain fields related to USA. So this is what country specific things. USA, certain fields are already, these are called country specific associations. You have to associate it. It is not, associations are not only used to create the hierarchy of org structure, it may also used to associate a country specific as well. All those in depth will be understanding when we'll be covering this country specific. So for now, let us cover what are the important attributes in legal entity. As you can see, start date, legal entity ID. These all are labels, legal entity name. These are the standard labels. If you want, you can create, configure custom fields. But these are the, for example, take legal entity ID. This is the code. Code should, whatever, anyways, this is, we are creating a structure. So it is not standard. By default, Yash groups will not be there. Whenever you are creating for the first time any code, you have to mention it without space or underscore. Two things. It else it will show that the naming the naming convention is being interrupted. You have just breached the naming convention, because success factors has their own certain rules. That rules you have to follow. Like ID should not have spaces. Else, because this is the ID which is unique, and when it is linked with other things, it will be recognized with this ID. Anything, any object ID, whether it is object ID or any field ID, these all are linked with one another because ID is the unique. You can duplicate the name. Yash Groups, I will be creating another Yash legal entity name like Yash Groups, but I can't use this ID. I have to use Yes Group 1. Again, if I create this with if I create the structure starting with Yes Group, I can't take this ID because already this ID is being assigned. So IDs or codes, whenever you are finding it, those are very unique. See, this is the legal entity, this is the object code, this is the field code. Okay. Under this object, under legal entity object, we are creating the structure. We are creating Yash Groups as the legal entity, and under Yash Group you are having fields. So there are two codes. One is main object code and another is field code. You can find this as external code only, but if you go to details, you have to see the label legal entity ID, which you can able to see over here. Okay, got it? Understood till here?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we'll be doing practical, and then once you practice, just keep on practicing from now. This very important topics we have started. So
Arpan,
continuously day by day. Yeah.
actually, as we know, I'm from HR, SAP, SCM background also.
Mm-hmm.
So we have company code there, okay, and
Okay.
that company code has to be created from finance. Okay, so this
Here,
company
finance
code
is
is
not
same
there.
as
This is purely HCM. Success factors completely is HCM. No other modules are linked. That's
okay,
the reason API
right.
consultant will be linking it from SAP R3 system is still there, because we are linking
Hmm.
company codes to the legal entity is nothing but company
Company
codes
code,
to this company. So
right.
that comes under integration part. So company code, something like that, it is not here. You can have cost center. Cost center you can create it. It's also a part of org
So how
structure.
that linked with another models? Matlab, is it with the legal entity ID or cost center, as you said? With another, like there is another SAP products also. I mean,
Mhm.
if a company has taken another SAP product also, along with SAP Success Factor and Finance and
Okay.
everything. So yeah,
So those are the duties of API consultant, integration consultant. They have to integrate it from one system to another. Company ID. Here you can able to create the cost center. That cost center they can able to map into one company code. Under company code,
okay,
there are various cost centers. Okay. That mapping will be done
okay,
by integrations consultants, which are
okay.
also called as API consultants through middleware software or point-to-point integrations. There are many tools in this SAP.
So company code is not legal entity. You is that
Company code is not legal entity.
okay?
You will be also finding company over there, right? These are nothing
Right,
but structures, basically. Org units you will be
okay,
finding, right? In organizational
right,
management, you
right.
are creating org unit and then sub org units. These are that. It is not related to this enterprise structure or something which will be creating in SAP HR.
Okay,
Okay, this is
fine.
related to completely org structures.
Okay.
And then cost centers is also a part of org structure in SAP HCM, which is also a part of
Hmm.
company code. Okay. That cost center
Right.
for creating, you can create here field wise on creating the values that will be mapped with the cost centers of SAP HCM if required. And that cost
Hmm.
centers, whatever the codes which are unique code, right? Each cost center has a unique code. That code with this
Hmm.
cost center ID, you will be mapping. Automatically, it will take to that company code, which is already having those cost center, because those cost centers
Okay.
are under that company code in SAP HCM, right? So like how it will
Okay.
work.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, right. Welcome. So let us first understand the attributes of this. Uh, before creating any custom MDF object fields, you have to well know of these attributes. What are this? So code, I have told you, code is nothing but standard code. You don't have to touch it. If any custom code is there, you can do it, but without any spaces. If you are creating any custom MDF object, for that also code will be asked, but without any spaces, or underscore should be there. If you want to differentiate in between one word and another word, you can use underscore. Okay, so that code is anyways not visible to the user. It is only used for if you are doing any associations or any other linking is there. If you are linking one in future, just in future purpose, if you are linking this object as a field in some other object, means you are mapping it as a field in some other object, you will be doing it with code only. Okay, so code is very important. That's the reason it should be unique. So for now, whenever you create any code or any existing code is there, you don't have to change it. If I want to change this name, I'll be changing directly the label. If I write root org unit, then under this search, you will be finding, you will not find legal entity. You will be finding root org unit. I will show that also by mentioning this label. So let us first understand line by line. Code is nothing but it defines the object actually. Through code only that object is defined. So it is unique. Okay, legal entity. And then effective dating. Effective dating basically will be using this don't use none. Either will be using in employee central, from parent and basic. Only two you will be using. If you select none, then it will not work at all. So what is basic and what is from parent? So as I told you, for one example, in managed data, as soon as I show the country, as soon as I updated the country United States, here certain country specific fields are coming. How it is coming? Because it is coming from another object, fields from another object, and that is that country specific object. That this is also legal entity. This label is USA, but this is also a legal entity. So this is when you are creating any country specific, you have to create a child legal entity, and parent is anyhow legal entity is there. That means without parent, child doesn't exist. Does it exist? Without parent, child exists. Without parent, child doesn't exist. So for that purpose, we'll be using from parent when not in legal entity. When you are creating a child legal entity, that is in coming classes, I will explain you practically. For now, just theoretically part, try to understand. If I create another legal entity like USA, now we'll be also creating India, because for if I select India, India specific fields are not coming. That means it is not configured. By default, only some 7 or 8 countries will be configured in success factors. India is not coming in that default. You have to configure it for India. We'll be configuring when it comes. So whenever you, uh, this is not something logic you are applying. This is just child legal entity, and under child legal entity, you are mentioning from parent. That means main legal entity should exist in order to face this child legal, in order to update this child legal entity. If this legal entity doesn't exist, then automatically child doesn't exist. Okay, it is dependent of parent. So whenever I select USA, USA specific fields are coming. These fields are being configured in another legal entity with that, which is child. And that is, you can see here in object definition, if I type legal entity, there are many other legal entities like legal entity China, event, Russia, Saudi Arabia, Singapore, etc. All these legal entities are there. Thailand. These all are child legal entity. If I select any one of the child legal entity, you may see the first thing is effective dating from parent. So whenever any specific country specific or any associations which is there, these are also associations which is depend on the parent legal entity. For that legal entity only, you have to select from parent. Else, no need to select. Legal entity, business unit, these all are independent objects. Without associations, without relationships also, these objects can be created independently. It is not dependent. So for those objects, you'll be mentioning basic. Rest all, if any object is dependent on parent, you have to mention from parent. This is just an example, just to make you understand what is from parent. Okay, understood? Or any
Okay.
doubts?
So Arpan, so
Hmm.
legal entity means the highest, org unit in the organization, or
Yeah,
it is
highest
based on.
argument means it is not reporting to anybody else. It is only the root, that is legal entity. Means you are working for any TCS group or ITC group. That ITC group is legal entity. Under that, various branches are there, right? Hierarchy. That will come
Huh.
subordinates against subordinates. This is root org unit. Root org unit, you may be
So
aware of SAP, right? You might have
right,
worked.
right,
Root
right,
org unit will not
right,
report to anybody.
right.
Yeah.
So root organic means that is like a TCS is all in, Wipro is all over the world. So root
Mhm.
organic will be Wipro Limited, and
Yeah.
the child entity will be Wipro India or Wipro USA, like that.
Yes, like that also you can do. If
Okay.
it is country specific, it will depend on the blueprint. In SAP, you will be
Huh.
having blueprint, like this process document will be there in success factors. It depends how
Right.
the customer wants their root org
Right.
units are all. So it may be in that way also, or it may be in this way also. Anything that management will be deciding. Like for example, ITC group is there. Under that, two branches are there: ITC electronics, ITC textiles. Under each sub-branch, you'll be having these functions, divisions, SAP, Oracle, and PeopleSoft. And again, in SAP, you'll be having three parts: SF, HR, and finance. You may also call it as department. Okay. And as we are
Right.
in SF, under SF, you'll be having again two or three parts. SFEC is one part, Employee Central, PMGM. Like this also it may be, or it may be as per your
Hmm. So,
understanding. Like country-wise also they can bifurcate. It is
so
all depends on the organization.
So actually, the client comes with a blank, blank state of mind. We have to, explain them how, which is the legal entity and all these org, or units.
You
So
have
that's
to
why I just
explain,
asked
see,
you. Yeah.
what are the structures. You have to explain in broader sense, like for with examples you can explain like that. But if they are having any other branches or out of station also, how they want to categorize so that everything comes in one structure, like India,
Hmm.
Australia, USA, other branches they want should come in one structure. So you can give
Hmm.
an idea and then they will come up with their own thing, like no, just root or unit should be this, and under that you have to mention these structures. They already have the functional structures. Without, if you remove SAP and success factors, they may also have the org structures. They will say that
Right,
implement this org structure, so the name and all you can give it as per their understanding.
right. So in SAP SCM, there is a personal area and personal sub area. That is a location, right, over here.
Yeah, that is the location. Here
Okay.
you will be finding locations and location group. You can mention it as location and location group, broader sense.
Okay.
For example, location
Right.
group will be like it may be geozone is also there. It will be like geozone is APAC region. If it is required only, it will use. Else you can hide
Hmm.
this thing. Geozone is
Right.
APAC, Asia Pacific. Under that you'll be having India. Under that location is Hyderabad, like that. So
Yeah.
personal area, personal sub area, you can use it as location group.
Okay, and org area and department will be I can come low. But what
Yeah,
about
these all are
org?
departments only. But naming convention
Acha.
as per success factors are this: root org unit. Again, in SAP, you'll be calling org unit, here department. If any mapping is to be
Okay.
there with SAP
Huh.
and system, and that root org unit will have separate ID, right? Not
Right.
name, ID.
Right.
Here,
Right.
here you'll be having this code, which is unique. Okay.
Yes.
So this is to
Yes.
be mapped, and you have to keep the API visibility as editing